Welcome back to the channel. My name is T Cypher, and today we're going to continue the build of the Nighthawk slash Tomahawk, apologies, I was been calling it Tailhawk, CNC build. Today we're in my new shed and we're going to make a start on actually constructing the frame. I'm probably going to end up shooting this over the course of a week, so what I'll probably try and do is most of it should be hopefully quick time. And you should see me go through the process of the actual build of the frame. I might do some talky sections and I'll probably put some Winter Garden music over on it, because that guy is just awesome and he freelances his music and he's quite inspiring as a maker. So this is the shed itself. It's quite a nice size shed. Down here we've got some, on the right hand side we've got some PIR board, insulation board, which I'm going to use to insulate the windows. The entire wall's been insulated before email PIR board roof space as well, and then I've got about 25mm underneath the board. Okay, down here we can see the extrusion for the build, so we can see the big 160 by 1.5 meter long on the left hand side, then the meter x-axis there, then we've got some of the smaller 40 by 80 frame around. Okay, I've just got a bit of a plastic sheet on the floor just to actually build onto, so as not to damage the floor too much. And as we come across, I've got a temporary workbench in place with a lot of the little subcomponents underneath. The box on the left is got my Z-axis build on, which in hindsight, I've already recorded the video. I'll probably not release that video purely because I did muck up the build procedure a bit, so I'll probably re-record that at a later point in a better way of doing it. On top we've got the, in those bags there, that's the X and Y linear rail. I've got a little gadget there on the right hand side, you can't quite see behind the white, which I'm going to use to try and align everything. Coming further around, and then in that corner there I've got a lot of my precision equipment, so I've got some DTIs, a height gauge, some screws and bolts there, vernier. Underneath you can see the ball screws which are there. Coming around further, you can see a circular saw which I'm using to cut stuff shorter as needed. And then I've recently just had my birthday, and Sarah got me a actual grade 00 surface plate in there. Not the biggest, but hopefully it's going to be big enough for anything I need to do, and hopefully with a bit of ingenuity and cunning plans I should be able to achieve quite a good straightness for my build. So that's the new workshop as it will be, and my CNC will be sat in this corner here. Along here, this leg length here, I'm going to have a bench including my metalworking tools. So I've got a mini lathe. Where the extra camera is stood right now is going to be my mill, and then where this temporary workbench is at the moment, that'll be a secondary bench, and that will have more of my woodworking fixed equipment, and then I'll have a mobile bench which I'll move around as required, which hopefully should give me a nice little workshop. I'll probably have to continue to store certain stuff in the garage, raw materials wise, just purely because although it's a nice size, it's not the biggest, but it should be big enough to do most of what I want to do. So next we should hopefully start seeing me doing a first build. So what I'm going to do a first build, understand how it all goes together. I'm probably going to have to cut down some of this aluminium extrusion to different lengths. There's no specific way at the moment to building the subframe, so I'm going to build it to how I want it to build. Ultimately it will have shelves and such like in it, but at the moment like I said, I'm just going to initially do a first build just to get the feel of how it all fits together and understand what pieces I need to cut down and to what length. So I'll be back in a moment. worth saying I've pre-tapped the ends of these parts with a M8 thread to accept these M8 by 30 nuts bolts. Okay, so these are the legs. I've already tapped in and fitted the feet on the bottom, and yeah, so I'm going to now fit these. I'm going to use, I believe, T-nuts to go in to the track. So let's do that. Switching from M8 by 16 to M8 by 20s, the M8 by 16s probably work fine in the gutters, but this material a little bit too thick, so I'm going to have to go for something slightly longer. Okay, just came across a little surprise. These little T-nuts, I'm normally used to getting them when I'm at work. We use Bosch Rexroth. I work for Bosch. And normally what happens is you can drop them in and twist them in situ. They don't drop in. It's caught me off a little off guard, so you've got to slide them in and then twist them halfway up, which is not the greatest in honesty, not my idea of a good fit, but hopefully maybe the M6 ones will drop in. But it's something I'm just going to have to be very much aware of, because yeah, that's going to cause me a little bit of fun and games potentially further down the line. But yeah, we'll keep moving forward. Well, the good news is the M6 T-nuts drop in nicely, so I'm going to use those to do some of the places I'd rather use M8 for the time, but mark up so when I come to do the final build, I know how many M8 T-nuts to slide into the rails. Okay, so the cross member isn't perfect, but I'm not really aiming for perfection at this moment. I'm just trying to do a dry fit just to understand where all bits going to go and the complications I'm going to come across once I go for the final build. And the final build I'll be going for a lot more precision, making sure everything's square, etc. So this is very much a learning exercise to understand how it all behaves together and goes together. Okay, so initially I'm going to try and go with an M6x20 for these this rail and see how we do with that. This is a lot of bolts. This is 25 for the 1m50. That's a lot. Note to self, I need to actually put the carriages on the rail before I load the rail onto the frame. That will have to take one of the end support faces off, which might be what I end up doing. Okay, I'm definitely not fond of these twist knot T-nuts for these rails here, because to put it bluntly, I can't tell if they're engaging or not. I do have some M6 slot 8 drop-in nuts, which I'll be able to, what I'll probably do is I'll probably use those for these rails and use, I got those because I'm going to use wood sheathing around the outside, but I'll probably switch those and use those for these, and then switch to using these twists on the wooden outer sheath, because it doesn't matter as much, and I'll probably have a bit of a better chance of actually having a clue that something's not right in that case. So yeah, but I will continue. I'm going to just get the end, I'm going to quickly lift this left one and slide on some carriages and then continue to the build. Okay, so it's actually the following day now. Batteries ran a bit low. I just base fitted the brackets onto the carriages on the two wire rails. One thing I have discovered is that I have presently got the crossbar butted up against the y-axis. It actually needs a little bit of spacing to go on, because as it sits right now, the x-axis is pretty much completely flush with the two ends of the mountain blocks, and there's actually a reference face and step back on the risers that go on there, so it needs to move out a little bit. I talked to Dan overnight. It's about a millimetre either side gap, I think, what I can tell. I will probably get a vernier out and do some measurements and have a look at it, but onwards and upwards. Okay, so when I was doing the unboxing of these bits, I noticed there was actually some markings on these plates and those parts there. It actually looks like these are matched to their specific runner. So in typical style, I've got the runners back to front, but hey ho, that's all part of the fun, as I say. Okay, so I just tried M8 by 35s to put into the rail here. Let's move this up so it's a bit closer to you guys. Okay, bit long, not a problem. What I'm going to do is use the M8 by 35 on these ends. I'll assume this goes in the middle for the moment. I will check my drawings later. It's not going to be the end of the world if I've not got quite the right place for this drive bit. But yeah. Yeah, that's good. So just literally try to fit this together. And the reason I'm doing dry fit is purely because when I come to do the final build, I don't want to be trying to be all super precise and having to take a million one steps back because I made a mistake. So, continuing. Okay, what I've just done is I've put some angle brackets in the four corners so I can loosen off these points here and open up the space between the two veils a bit. So like I said, it should be about 1 millimetre each side. So what I'll probably do is I'll start by opening up 1 millimetre roughly on both sides, and then I'll drop the cross piece in and just nudge it up on that. Okay, so things discovered, as is always the case, I discover new things every time I try it, is that, and I probably actually, in reality I didn't know this but I just forgot about it, there's a pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 holes on each side. There's only 8 holes in the bar, so what this means is you can select to have it either at this lower height or a high height with adds an additional 4 centimetres to the overall Z. Okay, as things stand, without a spoiler board on, there is that's 21 centimetres. So by the time you add the actual Z-axis on it as well, you're going to lose another. Let's have a quick glance at this. So 6 centimetres off that. So let's say just from here to here, because that would probably be a sensible left. So that's 15 centimetres clearance. you can then go up by another 4 centimetres, giving you 19 centimetres. That's the base of here. By the time you put a 2 centimetre spoiler board on, you probably want to go for the higher one. Oh, I think I'll probably go for the higher ones. Haven't decided fully yet. But yeah, that's the basic frame put together. So what have I learned during this process? The M8 T-nuts don't slot in to this frame. Probably would be fine on the 10mm slot. So I need to be aware of that and pre-load anywhere I want those in prior. And I think I prefer to have those generally as much as possible, simply because they're bigger. What else have I learnt? The fact I need some gap either side of here. So that's interesting. Yeah, so there's that. What else? It's heavy, very heavy, and there's a lot of bolts to go in and out. I'll tell you that. It's I can probably just about shift it. I couldn't lift. I definitely wouldn't be able to lift it all on my own. That's for sure. But yeah, I need to decide if I want to put my. Basically, this is going to be back here, and probably another inch or two in this direction, so that gives me plenty of space on the far side. So I need to decide if I want to put the stepper motors on the back or the front. Now the advantage of putting on the back, I can go further back here. I've always all the way to the back. Basically the drop is actually in line with the back of the bolts, so I won't be losing anything like that. I will have some insulation board in here, but that's probably not going to interfere with that either. So yeah, there's that option. But the risk is I will leave the stepper motors exposed on the front here, and yeah, they're quite big, so they'll stand out quite a bit. Yeah, they're going to be mounted in like that, so it's quite a protruding thing. The other option is, of course, I put them at the rear. The problem with that though is that if I do that, servicing them, doing anything maintenance-wise to them might well be a bit of a headache, so I'm leaning towards having them at this end. Slight headache also because I intend to put all my electronics at the back corner there, but yeah, I have to work it out. I did have a workbench over this side. It's going to be 60 centimetres, so it's going to be that. So by the time I move a couple of inches that way, I'm probably going to have enough room to work here. That's fine. I won't have this side will be clean. There won't be anything on this side. I'll be having the X stepper motor over on that side, and all the conduit and stuff running down here, so that gets this side clean, so I'm not interfering with anything. But yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a little cup of coffee. Like I said, I'm going to probably mark up where I think I want to put the M8 T-nuts in to start off with. I think that makes some sense. I also need to get I'll get the X gantry off. I'll probably try and take that off as a complete unit. It's probably going to be easier than messing around. I am going to have to totally disassemble the cross member anyway, because I need to put the rails on it. And again, that's another thing I've learned. I need to make sure I put the carriages on these rails prior to mounting it. Yeah. So yeah, as next it starts to get precision.